Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming with you a pretty big book haul. So this is going to be my book haul for the summer. I think I'm going to try and avoid buying too many books, but I'm going to try and do my book hauls kind of quarterly from now on to try and staunch my flow of books coming in, because it's not something I need to be spending a ton of money on. This isn't going to go in any particular order, but just gonna take a look at some of the books that I've been buying recently. So first up, I picked up The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I saw this on Jean's channel, I believe, and this is a retelling, kind of a reimagining of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from the point of view of Mary Jekyll, who is alone and penniless following her parents' death. Finds herself drawn into the secrets of her father's mysterious past. So it seems like a reimagining here, but I'm super excited about it. Please don't mind the fan noises, but I need something. It's like 30 degrees in this apartment, so I need some type of relief from that. So I apologize, but let's just keep going. Next up, I picked up Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is a adult romance, kind of hard-hitting. I saw this on Chloe's channel over at Books with Chloe, and it's Irish, it's adult romance, and that's all I really need to know. Next up, I picked up People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is her newest book, and it's kind of like a friends to lovers, again, summer read, similar to her first book, Beach Read, which was enemies to lovers, but also set during the summertime. I just recently read Beach Read, and I adored it, so I'm very much excited to read People We Meet on Vacation very soon. Next up, I picked up Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutano. This is a adult romance again, but this one has kind of got a bit of a twist to it. This one follows the main character, Madeline, who ends up accidentally killing her blind date, and she has to enlist her mother and her eccentric aunties to help cover up the crime. And then apparently another romance ensues. I don't know. I've heard amazing things about this, and I absolutely cannot wait to read it. Next up, I picked up One Last Stop by Casey McQuestion. This is her newest release, and it's one of the books I'm currently reading. This tells the story of August, who is a cynical 23-year-old who just moved to New York City, with no delusions that New York City is going to bring her any grandeur or romance or anything from the stories, until the day that she ends up meeting Jane, who is a beautiful woman who looks like she just stepped out of the 70s punk rock era, leather jacket and all. And August soon realizes that her morning commute isn't going to be as bad as she thought it was going to be if it means she gets to meet Jane. Until she realizes that Jane doesn't just look like she came from the 1970s, she actually is stuck in a time loop situation and is from the 70s. So they have to kind of work together to make sure that Jane gets home. I'm one chapter into this and I already love it, so I'm super excited to keep going with it. Next up is The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This one is a fantasy that is following a main character, Nina, in a kind of like Regency-inspired world, but it has different types of magic in it. Like, Nina herself is telekinetic. I don't know a whole lot much about this, but I love Sylvia Moreno Garcia's writing ever since I read Mexican Gothic, and my friend Kayla raves about this book. I think she's read it 5 times already this year, so I am very excited to get to this one extremely soon. Next up is Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. This follows Leela, who is going through all of the motions of the beginning of a typical rom-com. She has to move back home after a terrible breakup, and she has to try and save her parents' restaurant. However, one day a very nasty food critic, who also happens to be her ex-boyfriend, mysteriously drops dead in the middle of the restaurant from poisoning. The cops are treating her as the only suspect, hence because of their past relationship and the fact that she's working at the restaurant. And so she has to kind of take on the investigation herself. This is a mystery, like a cozy mystery, Agatha Christie style mystery that I'm so excited about, and apparently the first in a new series of mysteries called the Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mystery. And I'm so excited about this. This is going to be great. Next up, I picked up Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. This one I've heard some like really mixed reviews about. I first saw it over on Kayla's channel at Books and Lala, and then I saw it again on Chloe's channel at Books with Chloe, and both of them seem to really like it, and I tend to lean towards both of their recommendations quite a bit. This one is a dark academia set at a elite liberal arts school. and has some mystery in it, and apparently it is really messed up and I'm very excited to read it. I'm probably not going to read this until closer to the fall because I'm kind of leaving all of my dark academia kind of school setting books till then just to fit the vibe, but I'm very excited to read this very soon. Next up, I picked up Fangs by Sarah Anderson. I've already read this, but this is a graphic novel following two characters, one of whom is a vampire, the other is a werewolf, and it's their story of falling in love, kind of told in these little vignettes. Like, each page or so is just a different story about them. Each page is like a different mini story about them falling in love, and just the art style is adorable. And I love the content, like it's hilarious. It tells all the main jokes that you'd think you'd find with a vampire and a werewolf falling in love, but it's so funny and I loved it. And I think the edition that I found was really great. Again, I saw this on Chloe's channel and again, it was fantastic. If you want a short and sweet little funny graphic novel, highly recommend. Next up, I got two books that I have read through Audible on my audiobook library, and I wanted to get both of them for physical copies so that I could reread them. And that is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I gave both of these books 5 stars. They're fantastic. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo follows the titular character Evelyn Hugo as she reaches out to a kind of not very well-known journalist in order to sell her life story, which has been something people have been wanting forever. And she commissions this journalist to write her memoir to be published after she dies. And it goes through the list of all of her 7 husbands that she had over the course of her life as a golden age of Hollywood superstar. Daisy Jones and the Six, on the other hand, tells the story of Daisy Jones and the Six. Daisy Jones being a fictionalized 70s pop star, and the Six being a 70s rock band that their record producer ends up putting them both together. And as they work and tour together, they become the biggest music sensation of the 70s. Both of these are told in interview style formats that I think were really well done, and I'm obsessed with this book. I just recently listened to this one, so it's fresh in my mind, and it was just a fantastic time. Highly, highly, highly recommend both. I'm very excited because I'm planning on picking up Malibu Rising, which is the next book in Taylor Jenkins Reid's bibliography, I should say. And it's interesting because there's one side character that's apparently connects all these books together, which is going to be cool to read about. Anyway, next up, I picked up The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. This is the first book in a kind of series by Jasmine Guillory. Series in the sense that each of the books are kind of following a side character of the previous book. They're not actually connected, and you can read them as standalones, but I'm going to try and read them in order. This tells the story of Alexa and Drew, who both end up meeting inside an elevator on their way to a mutual wedding and decide to end up showing up as dates. So it's got a fake dating trope, and I think it's kind of like enemies to lovers as well. I don't think they go into it with a lot of love for each other. And I think it has second chance romance in there as well. I'm super excited. I've heard nothing but great things about Jasmine Guillory as a romance novelist. I also follow her on Instagram, and I think she's really funny and a really great person. So I'm super excited to read this very soon. I'm probably going to have a whole week of adult romance that I'm going to try and vlog soon. So I'm excited about that. Next up, this is actually my most recent read, but I ended up being gifted this from my friend Kayla, and that was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a novella retelling the story of Dracula's brides from the point of view of his first. This is from the point of view of Constanta, who is transformed from medieval peasant to one of Dracula's immortal vampire wives. And it follows her in a diary style entry. She's writing to a specific person, assumedly Dracula, but she never mentions his name, just goes to the telling the story to an unknown you, and it chronicles her entire life knowing him from the moment that they met to the moment that their lives together stopped. This was phenomenal. It was a fantastic read, a great fantasy, and also super heartbreaking. It dealt with so many different themes, including themes of abuse, emotional and physical abuse, and dealing with ideas that maybe the person that you've fallen in love with doesn't love you the same way and isn't the same person that you thought they were at the beginning of the relationship. but it does a great job of giving Constanta her agency back. Because like, even from the get-go, you realize that at the beginning of their relationship, she never really truly had any agency, and she was totally indebted to him her entire life and was treated as property. So I'm obsessed with this. I just finished it yesterday, so hence me raving about it right now, but I am obsessed. Everybody should go read it, like, right now. Next up, I picked up The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. This one I read as a buddy read with my friend Kayla, and I absolutely adored it. This tells the story of Maya, who is the half-goblin fourth son of the Elfland Emperor, who lives away from the court, totally, like, distanced, doesn't have any relationship with his father or his siblings, whatever, living in isolation, until one day he finds out that his father and all of his oldest brothers died mysteriously in a aircraft crash, and he is now the new emperor. This follows Maya on his journey into this infamous and ruthless court, where he has to learn all the politics, he has to learn all the intrigue, he has to learn how to behave, and how to meet the expectations that are impossibly set upon him. Maya is one of my favorite new characters I've ever read from. I think he's precious and needs to be protected at all costs, but I think he's also one of the most heartwarming and, like, genuinely good main characters I've read from in a very long time, and I am obsessed with him. Next up, I picked up a nonfiction, and that was Tell It to the World by Stan Grant. This is an Indigenous Australian memoir that I read for my book club in the month of May. This was an incredible read. It was super short, but very lyrical in its writing. You can tell that Stan Grant himself has built his career on writing and journalism, because he told his story fantastically, interweaving both his lived experience as an Aboriginal man in Australia, while also weaving in family history and the actual history of how Indigenous people were treated by the Australian government and the British government at the beginning of Australia's colonization. This was a fantastic read. It was very difficult to read at some parts, especially when he was detailing his life as a reporter in different war-torn countries, but it was a really important read, I think, and one that I think everybody who's ignorant in Australia's goings about, as I myself am, benefited from reading from. Fantastic. Next up, I picked up Heart of the Fae by Emma Hamm. This is a high fantasy fae type story. The back, it just says, once upon a time, a midwife fell in love with a king, and I got it on recommendation from Jean over at Jean's Thoughts. Again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that it is a fantasy romance, and I need all the romance that I can get in my life right now. I'm in such a romance mood, so this will definitely be a read that I will be picking up very soon. Next up, I picked up a graphic novel, which is actually going to be my next read, and that is Lumberjanes Volume 1, written by Noelle Stevenson and many other fantastic people. This is a queer graphic novel series that details the life of these five people and this summer camp. I'm super excited. Apparently it's super fun and very lighthearted and also has fantastic representation. And I'm super excited about it. I'm going to be reading it very soon, so I'll have more thoughts about that later. Next up was a pre-order that I was so excited about to get a couple months ago, and that was Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second and final book in the King of Scars duology, which is the third series in the Grishaverse. This is the most recent book to come out of the Grishaverse, and this, like, arrived perfectly on time because it showed up on my door the morning after I binge watched the entire Six of Crows TV show on Netflix. So I immediately had to pick it up, and I read it in one sitting. This was a fantastic end to the duology. I think it did a really great job of wrapping up some characters' arcs that have been going for multiple books, and gave us a really great, well thought out and well conceived ending to a massive series. I know there are going to be more books coming out, but I think this one had a really great air of finality to it, and it really made me very satisfied with the way that these characters were wrapped up. Highly recommend. I can't say too much about it because it'll spoil the entire series, but if you are a Leigh Bardugo fan and you liked Six of Crows specifically, I highly recommend continuing on with the series and reading the King of Scars duology. It is my favorite duology in the entire Grishaverse, so highly recommend. Next up, I finally picked up a physical copy of The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. This one I listened to as an audiobook quite a while ago now, and I finally wanted to get myself a physical copy so that I could reread it physically. This is a Indigenous mystery / thriller that is contemporary and deals with many different issues, including drug use, murder. This follows our main character, who is a young Ojibwe woman who ends up having to move home to help to care for her ailing mother, and she tries to make the best of her situation while she is there. She ends up meeting Jamie, who is a charming new recruit for her younger brother's hockey team, and while she still has doubts and realizes that Jamie's hiding something, she enters into their new friendship with open eyes. Then she ends up witnessing a brutal murder and ends up in the middle of a huge FBI investigation in which she agrees to go undercover to help and catch the murderer. This was a great story. I really loved it, and I think everybody should be reading it if you're interested in thrillers. But it's also a really great Indigenous book that I think everybody should be supporting. I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait. I'm hoping that my book club is going to pick it up soon so that I can rave about it with them. Finally, the last book that I picked up was Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. This is a dark academia novel as well, also a thriller that takes place in a 1902 at the Brookent School for Girls. It is a gothic thriller set at a New England boarding school that is supposed to be charmingly funny and also very mysterious, and it is a chonker. It is huge and it is very heavy. But again, this is something that I'm going to be looking forward to reading come this fall, because I'm probably not going to read it before then, because I need all of the spooky vibes to be able to read such a great thriller as this. But again, I've heard amazing things about this book and I'm very excited to read it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you are new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish videos every week, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does support my channel. Leave me a comment down below letting me know if you've read any of the books that are on this haul. And I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye-bye.